hated my childhood. Spider-Man X-Men in Arcade's Revenge for the Super Nintendo, developed by Software Creations and published by Acclaim, or LJN. Two superheroes from my childhood that I really loved the most, and this was a game that I rented quite a lot as a kid. And boy oh boy, this takes the cake as the crowning achievement of one of those games that truly just punches you right in the nuts. A side-scroller action game with 5 different characters with different abilities, powers, and levels to traverse. It's funny because I might have liked this when I was younger, but this game truly becomes a genuine pain in the ass, but not until after maybe the first level. But first, let's get some positives out of the way. First, the music for this game is pretty awesome. It's very 70s rock funk. Made by Jeff and Tim Follin, these guys have been making game music for decades. Some good and some bad. And this is one of the bad ones. Secondly, the controls are pretty good. They don't feel clunky, and you have a variety of attacks and special moves. The web sling for Spider-Man feels really cool and accurate. This was the first time in a while where playing Spider-Man felt pretty cool. Okay, now on to all the negatives. First, you start off as Spider-Man trying to save the X-Men. You can web sling and shoot impact webbing at the most generic enemies possible. The web slinging is interesting because you can control the range and speed by holding up and down on the controller. You will need to do this to get into certain spots. And you can wall crawl. This just happens automatically when you jump into a wall, but only walls. The first level, you're going around collecting these bombs or switches with your spider sense telling you where they are. It gets pretty annoying really quickly. And I'm pretty sure that's not how his spider sense works. It will also tell you where a boss is too. Also, is it strange how you can't web sling off the ground or while you're jumping? Well, sometimes you can web sling off the ground. At the end of the first level, you unlock the X-Men. Now you can choose which characters you want to go through next. And I like how the game has the characters' bios and gets the info and powers correctly. For example, Wolverine actually has his healing power, but we'll talk about that more later. Now, let's talk about the reasons why this game becomes the hate-filled monster that it is. For one thing, all characters share the same lives, so if you die on the first level, it carries over to the other characters in the next levels. You can gain extra lives, but these are rare and only seem to appear in certain characters' areas, like Spider-Man and Wolverine. I never found one in Storm's, Cyclops's, or Gambit's, as much as Gambit's as I could get through. But we'll get to that in a bit. Oh yeah, and guess what? No continues either. No passwords either. Just game over. Start from the beginning. Which means each time I wanted to get more footage, maybe for a certain character, I had to beat Spider-Man's first stage again. Just incredibly stupid and annoying, just so I could get to the other characters first. There are quite a few health pickups, or ways for you to regain your health with certain characters. It feels like it's how the game devs realized that they made the game so hard and unfair at times to get through. There will be areas where you take damage too quickly and easily. For example, Storm is in an underwater level, and she loses but can regain oxygen, but some enemies can shoot and hit you off screen before you can see or know to attack them. Also, she's hurt by exploding objects, or you'll get caught on a corner and be hit by an electrical trap. I'm not sure, but either Storm or Gambit stages are the worst or most annoying. But which one? By the way, you see all these spider icons? They're nothing special, just points. And why? I mean, they're everywhere. They don't give you additional lives if you collect so many of them. And there are 3 different types, too. Whites, yellows, and reds. So I got a special score. Whoop-de-frickin-do. Why are they here? Shiny, shiny, gotta have. Alright, now let's talk about the stages a little bit more. Spider-Man is in the city. One seems to be a construction site, and then the inner city with weather elements. More on that in a bit. Wolverine is in an amusement park. Random, but okay. Cyclops is in a mine area. Storm is underwater, and Gambit... chess pieces and such. At least each one is different, so there's some variety there. At least with Spider-Man stages, the end bosses are from his rogues gallery. Shocker, and later Rhino and Carnage. Some of the same for the others. Kind of. Cyclops has Master Mold, who I've never gotten to. Wolverine has Apocalypse, and then Juggernaut. But Storm and Gambit, random robot things. Okay, now Spider-Man Stage 2, or 3, really. Now we have heavier platforming with pitfalls, but now weather elements. It starts raining and it changes directions, propelling you backward or forward. So you need to be mindful about this. Also, it can either help or screw you. So there's that. Also the fact that it can turn you the other way sometimes too. The third stage with Spider-Man is such a ginormous pain. The platforming with more web slinging, with the rain blowing you around or pushing you back, and on top of that, you have to fight 2 bosses at the same time. Carnage, who just jumps around and shoots at you, and Rhino, who runs around back and forth, ramming into the walls on either side, causing you to fall off the platforms. And by this point, your health may be pretty low, so just jumping around to hit Carnage, avoiding being knocked off or around by Rhino, and the freaking rain, and best of all, after I beat Carnage, I couldn't remember how you're supposed to beat Rhino. What the hell do I do here? My web shooters just seem to slow him down, but don't hurt him. So get this. When you web sling, apparently it counts as an attack. Yeah, it does, apparently. You just never really have an opportunity to use it to know that that's what it does. Except this one time I got it to work on accident. And here, too. Thank God you aren't hurt when you're doing this. But here's the thing. After you beat all of Spider-Man's stages, you can't play as him again until you beat everybody else's stages. And good fucking luck with that. Up next, Wolverine. And why does one of the toughest and violent characters get stuck fighting clowns and jack-in-the-boxes? The music here is by far the worst too. It fits the level, but yeah, I don't like it. You can retract your claws for 2 reasons. One, retracting them allows you to use your healing factor, but if you use it to regain full health if you're near death, you can't use it again. And secondly, if you kill the jack-in-the-boxes without your claws, you get hearts. Otherwise, claws do more damage. The thing that's interesting about Wolverine's stage is you have these breakable walls. That is sometimes a way to get across traps. Sometimes. Other times you're forced into taking damage. I mean, look at this. At this jack-in-the-box is a bomb trap. You have to hop onto it and take damage. There's no way you can get past it and the jack-in-the-box. So unfair. The final boss is Apocalypse. Okay. Bear in mind, these are obviously meant to be robot replicas of those characters. I mean, obviously, because it's arcade and everything. But why Apocalypse? Why not, because it's Wolverine, why not have it be Sabretooth or something like that? Something more related to his character. And Wolverine's second stage, and one I've never been able to beat, because of this. You're being chased by the Juggernaut. There are obstacles that you can put in his way to slow him down. That's the key. If you don't, he will speed up and kill you. While at the same time, you have to worry about cutting through walls, avoiding other enemies, and hitting jugs every so often to keep him slowed. Fuck this stage. Next, Cyclops. It's interesting. His optic blast is a good range attack, and you can shoot in many different directions. So why would you ever want to use your punch or your kick attacks? Maybe it gives you back health. I don't care. Granted, I've never even been able to get to the boss of this stage, so many opportunities for you to take so much damage, getting hit by enemies that you can't hit, missing a jump or a cart, and dying instantly. Well, I've already talked about Storm, so there's not really much else to explain, but maybe I can go into a few more details on why her stage sucks. You have to raise the water level to progress and blast open these doors, but the explosions can hurt you, and enemies off screen can hurt you too. And then there are these mine and electric traps. Sometimes you may have to backtrack because you missed a water thingy to make it rise. I don't know what it's called. Nor do I care, so please don't bother to explain. Only if you're very careful about your oxygen and keep your distance can you make it. I would mention the special powers that you get, but they're not really worth mentioning, really. Storm just shoots lightning bolts, but you can get a whirlwind, which doesn't seem to do anything. And then this thunderbolt, but I've never found a good area to use it. Moving on! And lastly, let's talk about Gambit and his stage. His stage in playing as Gambit is not that great. Gambit has his throwing cards, and like Cyclops, he can throw in a few different directions, but his range in the throwing arc really doesn't help. Because of the enemies and the whole time you're being chased by this rolling spiked ball, which you can stop if you hit it, but it regains momentum in a few seconds. So you have no time really to think, and you also have to worry about your card ammo. Yeah! Now there's ammo! You can regain cards after killing an enemy, but it's probably better to try and avoid fighting anything. Especially because you're constantly just running and bumping into enemies. It's ridiculous. Gambit also has this circular flame power, which is only really good for this area to get past this wall thing. I have never been able to beat this stage, either because I'm so low on lives, or because my frustration builds so much that I just say, fuck it. Spiderman and the X-Men. I'm not sure why as a kid I ever did like this game. The controls are good and the music is awesome, but the levels and the frustration factor are just absolutely insane. And the fact that the game expects you to beat it in one run, especially. Fuck this game and fuck my childhood.